Hi guys, this is Adam with Custom Fitness Consulting. Got another video here about some exercises and some alternative movements to be able to use when you are having some issues, or even maybe just some exercises that you might want to try and work through your routine. I'm here with Dr. Iodice this morning, so I'll let him tell you a little bit about him.
Great, thanks Adam. All right, so Dr. Kirk Iodice from Advanced Healthcare and Sports Injury here. As a sports chiropractor, I often get asked a question of what can I do instead? In other words, if someone has something going on that's not too severe of an issue, they say, can I keep training? Often the answer is yes. And then the follow-up question is, well, what should I do instead? I feel like this issue isn't as discussed as maybe it should be. I feel like it's common you can find quote-unquote good lifts and bad lifts form, but not if this is bothering you, what alternative exercises can you do? So that's what we're going to talk about here. We did a previous video on lower extremity lifts, particularly if you have back pain, some leg lifts that you can do instead. You can check out that video if you're interested in that. And today we're going to talk about the shoulder. So let's talk about what the shoulder is first. So the shoulder, a lot of times people will think this is the shoulder right here. That's not really your shoulder. That's actually your shoulder girdle, it's your upper trap. You can get referral from your neck, so referred pain from your neck, muscle strains, all kinds of stuff can happen here. But this isn't true shoulder pain. True shoulder pain, meaning from your shoulder joint and shoulder socket, is going to be generally here, on the side, or in the back of the shoulder right here. So if that's where you're feeling your discomfort, this is the video that's most applicable for you. Now, one thing I need to say is that if you feel like you're having discomfort, if you feel uneasy about the exercises you're doing, you need to get evaluated by a healthcare professional, such as a chiropractor, a physical therapist, or a properly trained medical doctor, or another healthcare provider who is properly trained, so they can help you determine if it's safe. So this video is really more for you feel like you're in the zone of being safe. It's just more you're a little bit tweaky, not where you're in true pain. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into some of our exercises here. Okay, so let's first start off with bench press. This is definitely the number one most asked about exercise that I hear when people say, hey, my shoulder's hurting during a lift. It's most commonly going to be the bench press or the overhead press, but this is number one here, okay? So let's talk about, and the format of this video will be how people typically do the exercise and then the variations that we're going to talk about. So Adam, if you don't mind demonstrating just commonly how a lot of people will do bench press. So here it's just it seems really simple, right? You lower a weight to your chest and you push it up. The thing about this though is that there are some aspects of a typically performed bench press that actually aren't great for your shoulder per se. So as we go down, let's go down about 90-degree angle right here. If we go lower than here, even though you would think the farther I go, the more I stretch the pec, there's a limitation on how far it'll go. Your pec goes from here to your arm bone, your humerus. So as you go lower, actually what you do is you start to take that tension and move it towards the ball of the shoulder, which is your delt muscles, your biceps tendon, and there's a muscle underneath that a lot of people don't know the name of called the coracobrachialis, which is underneath all of this. It helps move your arm bone. It's a similar motion as the pec, but it's going to get activated more in this stretch position. So if we go all the way back down, from that couple inches right there, that's where the bad stuff can happen. So we're pinching tendons in the shoulders, we're stretching things that are beyond where they can produce power very well, hence they can get more easily injured. So this is what people typically do, all right? So unless you're training for a powerlifting competition, you don't need to do this. But if you have been training this way, you want an alternative, here are a couple of things you can try. So number one, we actually just demonstrated it, was about a 2/3 depth. So here we go down to where the arms are roughly parallel with the ground here. So notice the arm bone here, roughly parallel. It's just above the chest right here. Okay, let's go ahead and go up again. So as we come down again, we maintain just a little bit of height above the chest so it doesn't come down all the way. Come back up. Now, another variation that we can do is simply a reverse grip bench press. And notice he did rack before he changed his grip. So here, really simple. You just change the hands around. Important here is don't let the wrist extend too much. You keep them mostly in neutral, but don't let them flip back, otherwise you get a face full of weight, okay? So it lowers down slowly, and then we go back up. Here, the reason it's beneficial is that The movement like this, where we roll in, that's called an impingement position. Impingement means pinching. Pinching of tendons in the shoulders, which I don't think it takes anatomy knowledge to know that's a bad thing. So the more we're like this, the more impingement we get. The more we're like this, the less we have. Hence, even push-ups, the military style push-ups often are less tweaky on shoulder than the elbows out like this. So here, we keep the elbows in and we drive up. Important thing here is that we drive up with the pecs. We push and squeeze with the pecs just like you would in any other lift. Adam, do you have anything to add here?
Just on the regular bench, people think about range of motion, and you were just talking about depth, is, if you're a powerlifter or something, you have to go down, pause, press, but if you're really just trying to work and develop your pecs, range of motion, and when I do chest, or a lot of people doing chest, they're trying to bench, they're trying to build their chest. So when you're coming down, you really need to focus on putting the load on the pec. I mean, I'm not holding onto the bar just because I want you to know I'm really just focused on stretching the pec and then contracting the pec. So there's a lot of tension you can put into the pec, keep off the shoulder, and have a lot less risk of injury and better development.
And we do one more rep. One thing that I'd like to point out, that Adam's been doing this so long that he does certain things that are very healthy, and it's just these minor changes that can make a big difference. Notice that the bar is actually a little bit lower on his body than you'd think it might be. A lot of people, they'll tend to do a bench press really high up, like above the nipple line right here, whereas he's actually doing at, or maybe just a little bit below, kind of right at the lower part of the pecs versus being really high up here. What that does automatically is it brings those elbows down, kind of like we were talking about. The elbows are down versus being up and out the sides in that impingement position. Raise your arm up. We don't have any pictures here to show anatomy, but using my hands, there's kind of like a bridge, a bony bridge in my shoulder, and then underneath that there are some tendons and connective tissue structures. And the more I raise my shoulder, the more I narrow that space. So that if you go high enough, no matter what, you're actually pressing on those tendons just a little bit. So if we can keep the angle of the arm down just a little bit, we actually allow more space for those tendons and structures in there. So that's the concept of what we're going to talk about here. And again, this is if you're having shoulder pain here, or in the back of the shoulder, what are some alternative lifts? So let's go over a standing shoulder press just quickly. Again, this is the commonly performed form that a lot of people are doing. So Adam can demonstrate that for us. So just going straight up, again, kind of like bench press. Seems simple. You take a weight, you take it from down here, and you press up above. And Adam has decent form. A lot of people, what they actually do, go down, 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 all the way. They'll actually let the weight come down, thinking the more depth, the better. But again, here, that's not what we want. He'll talk more about depth in just a second. But the number one variation that I talk about is doing an alternating shoulder press with a body lean. It sounds complicated, but it's not. So Adam, if you'll demonstrate that for us, and I'll just kind of go through what we're doing here. So notice the hip shifts to the side and the shoulder raises up. This engages the same muscles as when you're doing a shoulder press, but now, because I'm pushing that hip out to the side, it actually changes the angle of my body. So as he's going to demonstrate on this left side here, he's going to press up, hold it there, bring your hips back. Notice the arms out at an angle. Now you should not do that. You can lower that now, okay? You should not do that, obviously, while you're exercising, but I just wanted to give a demonstration that instead of the arm being straight up above you here, it's actually out to the side. But because my hips are underneath it, you're still very powerful. You still can lift pretty heavy and pretty hard, okay? So that's the number one variation that I like to have people try, right? So the next thing that I think is important to talk about is depth. So will you just maybe give some pointers on talking about that?
Yeah, the easiest way I explain it to most of my clients, especially since a lot of them are online, is I use the triangle analogy. So when you're up and you're pointed top of the triangle, when you're coming down, you're actually opening up and stretching to about a 90 degree, and then you're going up and in. Takes a lot less depth in here where you're going to get impingements. It's a lot safer on the shoulder, and you're really having to isolate the muscle you're trying to work.
And we do that one more time and hold it at the bottom, Adam. So notice here, just like the bench press, we're roughly parallel to the ground. We're at that 90-degree angle. Again, pretty safe zone there. It's when we go below, that's when the pinchy stuff starts to happen. So other variations here, well, it's something you probably already do, and that's flies. So these are going to be deltoid flies here, okay? So lateral flies, anterior, posterior flies. So Adam, can you just take us through just a good form for an anterior, lateral, and a posterior delt fly?
Front fly. Lateral.
And what are some of the things that you're thinking of to make sure you're not getting too pinchy in that shoulder?
I'm always thinking about what muscle I'm trying to work.
That's
So when I'm pulling here, I'm trying to pull this arm out away from me, not just fly it up with momentum or anything like that. Even with here, trying to really feel my front delt activating.
So that's a really important point, is that he's trying to feel the muscle. He's not trying to lift the weight. It's a really important distinction. He's not saying how heavy of a weight can I lift up to my shoulder. It's how much am I feeling it in this muscle. Would you agree that if you grabbed a weight that was too heavy and you felt it starting to shift to other areas, it would do you better, you'd have a better exercise if you decrease the weight and felt it squeeze more in the purple muscles? Would you agree? Yeah. And that's why you'll see, guys like Adam in really good shape, and maybe they're not using as heavy a weight as you'd think. But the reason why is they're really concentrating on feeling it in the muscle. So a couple of small variations here is that number one, if the anterior or the front fly is troublesome for you still, can we show us that little variation where your thumbs are up just a little bit? So the thumbs can either be completely up or just turned up right here. Again, the more we're rolled, the more pinchy we are in the shoulder. The more we're open, the less pinchy we tend to be. So that's number one. Okay, and then number two, we can do something what's called the scapular plane. Now the scapular plane, I'll demonstrate here, it's not in the front and it's not straight to the side. It's this happy medium, about 45 degrees in between. It means your arm is actually in line with your shoulder blade. That's what scapular plane means. Go back down. So here, again, we can do two arm or one arm, but in this case here, we can either do thumb up or we can keep it flat, depending on what feels best for you. But do you mind demonstrating just a two-arm version of that? So basically, it's like a 45-degree, out just like that. Same concept. Feel it in the muscle.
Really focus on pulling with that muscle.
Absolutely.
And the other angle.
Great. Another exercise that people will commonly ask about is the pec fly. So another pec movement, but a lot of pec exercises tend to get tweaky for people with shoulder problems. So Adam, will you take us through I guess, what people will often do, mistakes people will often make while doing the pec fly and the ways to remedy that. And really, this is the variation. This is more of a form issue here because this is such a commonly performed exercise and it's done incorrectly. That just doing it right is really the fix for this one.
Once again, a lot of it has to do with weight. We're stretching, our arms are coming away from our body. We need to be able to control the weight, and we're trying to stretch and isolate the pec. We're not trying to use a bunch of different muscles. Obviously, you got stabilizing muscles, but not really trying to use them. So most of the time, you're going to see people going really, really deep, like in here to stretch the pec. And a great alternative, especially if you have shoulder pain, is to rotate them out a little bit.
Notice the hands.
And I got the same stretch in my pec, very little pressure on my shoulder. Pull from that, and then squeeze them in again.
And then one thing that I would like to point out here, because this is about not only helping you be healthier, but getting good results. It's kind of one and the same, right? Adam, would you mind doing the not great version again?
Yep.
Guys, I'm gonna get down here. I want you to focus on, look at the pecs right here, okay? So notice here that if you push here, yeah, there is some tightness here. Go ahead and bring it just kind of the regular way that people maybe shouldn't do it, okay? There's some contraction here, okay? Now Adam, do it the way that you know how to do it. If you watch here, watch the pec and get that good squeeze on there. Look how much thicker that is at the top. I mean, hopefully that comes through on the video, but that's visibly higher, a much stronger contraction he's getting in there. And so again, if you're looking to build mass, you want to actually build the muscle, right? And this is how you want to do it. So be more effective and be healthier. It's a win-win, right?
Yep. One last thing, dumbbells. A lot of guys are doing their dumbbells in here, which feels pretty natural.
Which he came down more towards the chest. So if you're looking from the side,
Yes.
the weights are kind of above the chest right now.
These need to be almost above your head. Pretty much above your head. Keep them much higher. You'll feel a lot more in the pec and a lot less in the shoulder.
And one thing that I can see from my perspective here too is a double check. As he comes to the top here, these weights, they're basically parallel to the ground. When they were lower, there's actually a little bit of an angle because the arms are coming down like this just a little bit, which is that bad position he was talking about. There's already pressure on your shoulders right there. Here, it's gravity that's just keeping it in line with you.
Correct.
All right, guys, well, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please let us know. We got a lot of positive feedback on the last video we did. And if you can subscribe, like us on YouTube, follow us on YouTube, whatever you want to do, or on Facebook rather, we certainly appreciate that. We enjoy making this stuff. We enjoy helping to enhance the health of Kansas City and by and large everyone else watching this too. One thing that I'd like to add is that we see people all the time who feel like they just need to suffer with certain conditions, suffer with pain, and that's just not the case in many instances. So I would urge you to seek the help of a properly trained professional. It may not be your family doctor. They may do a great job in many things, but a lot of times in the world of being physically active and fit, they may not have the correct training to really be able to help you and give you the appropriate advice for what you're trying to do. So my advice to you is to seek out a properly trained chiropractor, sports chiropractor, physical therapist, or another type of healthcare provider. If you want a good resource to go to, if you go to activerelease.com, so again, it's active release altogether, activerelease.com, if you go to search for a provider, that is a technique, a soft tissue technique that I've used with a lot of success, and we see people every day in my office that we just do fantastic with and have a very high success rate. So I encourage you to look into that if you are having problems actively. A lot of times they can correctly diagnose you, and if they're not the correct person, they can send you to the correct person oftentimes. So thanks again for watching.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Dr. Eikenberry. You got people that are just starting, so you're gonna have pain, and a lot of times you don't know if it's good pain or bad pain. So if it feels uncomfortable or it's you're questioning if it is good or a bad type of pain, going and seeing somebody like him is going to make a huge difference. And if you're an advanced person like me that's been lifting for over 20 years, I'm used to the pain. I'm used to being uncomfortable. I'm used to having sores, aches, pains. But since I've been working with him for about 4 years now, it really makes a big difference of me trying to not manipulate around something that's irritated by having him fix it. And then I'm back to being able to do things how I should be. So definitely great working with him. If you guys need any